Now, welcome everyone to today's event where I talk about how to analyze supplier's finance. This is one of the key themes of FM4. As you know, it has a title, Advanced Contract and Financial Management. So financial analysis is one of the key themes, and it may appear in either question number 2 or question number 4. However, this question may pose a serious challenge to the students. They may struggle to deliver the answer to this question. In this event, I shall help you to review the essential ratios from the study guide and how to answer them in the exam context. In FM4, if you read the study guide and if you look through chapter 2 and chapter 4, also in chapter 1, they mention multiple ways to assess the supplier's finance. We can approach in the conventional one, where we can look at different ratios from the supplier, from their financial statements, something like the current ratio, quick ratio, the things that we already know from level 4, like FOM4 and FOM8. Then we have the gearing ratio, net profit margin. But in level 5, they also introduce more ratios. The ratios to measure the efficiency, like the debtors days, creditors days, the inventory days, or stock days, and return on capital employed. We can abbreviate that into row C. On the other hand, we have another way to analyze with more systematic and with fewer ratios. So this is known as DuPont analysis. This measures the return on equity by taking net profit divided by equity. This formula can be further divided into the net profit margin, the return on assets or assets turnover, the equity multiplier or assets to equity. So far, as I observed, there has been no exam about DuPont analysis. However, I still introduce it here. We cannot exclude the possibility of having this question in the future, especially in this July exam. So with today's event, I shall guide you through the traditional conventional ratios analysis like current ratio, quick ratio, gearing, net profit, and the new one like debtors, creditor days, inventory days, and also through the DuPont analysis. We also have an opportunity to practice, and just like with the event on FM1, I may give the winner 2 practice questions to set a practice test instead of 1 if you answer the my exercise today correctly. But before that, let's review before I give you the practice. Now, let's return to the basic thing, the ratios that you know very well from level 4. So first, let's analyze different liquidity ratios. Here we have 2 major ratios, the current ratios and quick or asset test ratio. As you know, then the formula for current ratio is to take the current assets divided by the current liabilities. This ratios measures the liquidity and whether the supplier has sufficient assets to cover its short-term liability. It is a measure of liquidity, ability to survive, ability to expand within a foreseeable future. So with this ratio, we compare between current assets and current liabilities. With a healthy supplier, they should have more assets than liabilities and be able to sustain their short-term operations. So the result here should be greater than 1. Okay, it means that they have more assets than liabilities. On the other hand, we have quick ratio, which has pretty similar way to calculate, but instead of just taking the current assets, it removes the inventory from the current assets. As you know, inventory is one of the current assets. This is due to inventory is a risky asset, and in some context, they can become obsolescent or redundant if the business cannot sell them within their useful life. So in that case, then the inventory becomes a liability rather than an asset. So we need to remove them as they are risky. And from this formula, we can have better structure, better picture of how well supplier may meet its short-term liability. Both current ratio and quick ratio can be taken from the balance sheet. You can see it under the assets and, and liability table. For quick ratio, then it can be a little bit lower than current ratio. So the acceptable range could go from under 1, like 0.8 or 0.9, and around 1 and go above 1. Okay, so we cannot just like impose very strict standard as current ratio into quick ratio, because in quick ratio, then of course we remove a huge part of their assets, so we may tolerate some number under 1. Second, another two very familiar ratios is their gearing ratio and net profit margin. With gearing, it is a measure of financing. So with gearing, we compare between the debt financing and equity financing. In other words, we compare between the liabilities and the shareholders' equity. In the study guide, in many exams, they often show the gearing ratios as a percentage, and sometimes it may go beyond 100%. Actually, gearing is not a single ratio, but it is a group of ratios. We have multiple formula for gearing. And with this figure, then it can under 100 or over 100%. If this gearing ratio to the liability divided by shareholder equity taken by percentage, if it is under 100%, it means that this supplier has less debt than equity. Or in other case, when they have more liability than shareholder equity, then the result will be over 100%. This is quite important because, as you know, when a person borrows too much, then when the situation is not in their favor, then they need to pay off the debt. So if they have too much debt, more than what they own, then they may go bankrupt. The same thing applies to business if they don't manage the debt well. And if the debt is too much, then they may go into insolvency and increase the risk in the long run. So gearing ratio is a way of measuring long-term risk of the supplier. They should have less liabilities than equity. So the preferable result here should be under 100%. The net profit margin is a very basic, and it is a figure that you can see from the income statement. We take the net profit divided by the revenue take by percentage. So if a profit is healthy and it is profitable, then it should have a positive net profit margin, and more preferably, then it should have some number that the investor may want to see. From the procurement perspective, then the supplier should be able to sustain themselves through their operations, which is shown through the net profit margin. For some period, like during the economic crisis or when the business is new, then of course we may tolerate that. So supplier may have some loss, but in the long run, like through 3 years, we can see 3 years of financial statement from supplier. If for all those years they always have the negative net profit margin, it shows that they are unable to do business. They have too much expenses and too little revenue. So profitable and a healthy business should have a positive profit margin, and preferably then they need to have more than 5% profit margin so that they can sustain their business. They can have some positive return, and they will be economically viable in the future. Now, let's divert our attention to the three ratios that introduced in level 5 and in Alpha 4. They are new. These ratios are known as efficiency ratio. So they measure how well the business is doing in terms of internal business process. An efficient business should be able to collect the debt from their customers, should be able to pay off the debt to their creditors, and they should be able to manage their inventories. And all these things will be displayed, will be expressed through different financial ratio. So we have three different ratios here: the debtors day, creditors day, and inventory days. Debtor days measure the length that take the supplier to collect the debt from their customer. We take the number of days within a year, like 365 multiplied with the average account receivable divided by revenue. And you can see that there is a part here known as average account receivable. This is equal to the average between opening and closing figure, or opening plus closing divided by 2. So this number say about how long does it take a supplier to collect the money from their customer. If the number is too long, for example, then it shows that the supplier here has weaker bargaining position than their customers. You may prefer to have those suppliers because you can negotiate longer. Payment terms. But if this sustained for too long, if they have too extended debtors day, extended collection period, then they may face the cash flow problem. They will face cash flow problem, and if it's sustained for too long, then they may go bankrupt. So preferably, they should have a healthy range, not too short, but not too extended. So I think that the preferable result here will be around 30 to 45 days, sometimes 60 is acceptable. Similarly, we have the creditors days. It is a measure of how long for supplier to pay off their creditors. The creditors here include some entities like the suppliers, their own supplier cost, their employees, and other commercial creditors like the bank. A healthy business should be able to pay off all its creditors within a predictable range. So the formula here is 365 multiplied with average account payables and divided by the cost of sale. And average account payable here equal to the average between opening and closing figure. Similar to debtors day, then the supplier should be able to pay its creditors within from 30 to 45 days. Sometimes we cannot set it's a number like 60, but to extend the period may show some problem, like they have some cash problem that they don't have enough money to pay off the creditor, and that will be a sign of weakness, and they may face the problem in the long run. Finally, we have the inventory days. Inventory days, in other case, it is also similar to debtors days, creditor days, but it measures the average length of unit stock which stay in the warehouse. So, as you know, as you can study from level 4, like form 7, you know that inventory management involve the cost. And sometimes the cost here could be quite significant. So the longer they hold the inventory, the riskier it becomes and the more cost they hold. So the inventory day here should be smaller. The shorter, the better. The shorter, the better. And depending on the industry and depending on the product, then the inventory day may vary. For perishable product, then the average inventory day should not longer than their own useful life. So, for example, for food product, for a food retailer, then their average inventory day should be around 5 or less. Days may be longer, like around 30, 60 days, or sometimes 100 days. It may for 100 days, then we may spare to some durable goods like MRO supplies or some finished products, some machinery. They can stay in the warehouse for a pretty long time, but eventually they will be sold. The thing is, for the product that stay too long in the inventory, then they may risk become obsolescent and redundant and lose the value. So extended period of inventory days could show some problem of the supplier because they are struggling to sell off their inventory. Then it shows that their product is not good and they are not marketable. Therefore, we look for some healthy spec around like less than 100 days. Next, let's talk about the return on capital employed. This is one of the most important figure about the efficiency of the supply. Uh, some people may consider it as the most important structure and the ultimate structure to measure a supplier efficiency or a company efficiency. It shows about how well the business manage its capital and make a return from it. The formula here is we take EBIT or earning before interest and tax, abbreviated as EBIT, divided by the capital employed. So EBIT is also known as operating profit. So we take revenue minus the cost of sale minus the operating cost. And on the capital employed, we only consider the available capital. In other words, they only consider the long-term one and remove the capital that would be used to pay off the debt. So we take the total assets minus current liabilities. We need to summarize. We need to collect the data of ROCE from both balance sheet and the income statement. And it is measured in terms of percentage. So with a healthy and profitable business, then the return on capital employed should be 10% or should be higher. It shows how well they use the capital and how much capital they may use efficiently and how much they can make a return. Now, let's talk a little bit about DuPont analysis before I switch to the practice. For DuPont analysis, then it is not new. Actually, it is developed by an employee at DuPont Corporation in 1980. And initially, it was used to assess the financial performance of DuPont Corporation. Now, DuPont analysis is one of the comprehensive way to analyze a business and finding the root cause for its efficiency. In study guide, you can see DuPont analysis is mentioned in chapter 1 and in chapter 4. With DuPont analysis, we break the return on equity into the net profit margin, the asset turnover, and equity multiplier. When we see a low return on equity, like only 0.1%, then we should ask ourselves what could be the cost for this and how a business may improve. From procurement perspective, then DuPont analysis can be applied to analyze the key supplier and assist them in improving the efficiency. As you know, in LFM4, they mention a lot about strategic sourcing and about supplier development. So DuPont analysis could be used to analyze that. Furthermore, it is about advanced financial management. It also means that we can apply the same way to analyze our own company and understand what is its strength and also as weakness and how to overcome those weaknesses. So when we have very low return on equity, then we need to divide into the net profit margin, whether the low ROE due to low profit margin or low asset turnover or low equity multiplier. So from these number, then we can decide if it is about the net profit margin, then we need to manage our costs. We need to cut off the unnecessary expense and improve our operations. If it is about asset turnover, then we need to sell off the unnecessary assets, trim our operation, and focus on key matters. If it is about equity multiplier, then we can try to purchase more assets and using the leverage or using gearing, funding our operation by debt financing, etc. So from those activities, from this analysis, we can have a way for our business and find a way to improve the return on equity. Now, let's divert our attention to the practice. With the practice, then I have a background and I require the student. I require you to calculate and also comment on the different ratios as I'm showing on the screen here. You need to calculate the net profit margin, the gearing, debtors days, creditors days, inventory days, and proceed. You shall have 30 minutes. And because the table is too big, I need to uh, put it into a spreadsheet. I'm unable to paste it into a slide here. So I shall show you the table, the figure from my spreadsheet. All right, let's look at that. So I have a few figure, some data from the supplier, like supplier A, B, and C. And, so I summarize it from their financial statements. Now, you need to calculate the following. First, the net profit margin. Second, right, the current ratio. Other require you to calculate the quick ratio. Next, gearing. Next, then debtors creditors days. Okay, inventory, right, and finally the proceed return on capital employed. So you should have 30 minutes to calculate from this table and tell me the result from the check. You should have 30 minutes to do the task. And, during the time, you can type out your answer in the chat. We assess your answer from the chat, and the winner shall have the access to two, not one, but two set of our tests. Right. So now let me start the clock, and we shall start this practice. Okay, let's start now. I'm return to the table here. All right, feel free to type down in the chat, and I shall assess your answer. about 10 minutes left until I show you the answer. And remember that if you do this practice and you send me the answer, then you have a chance of getting two practice tests for free. Live analysis, not 1 month, but live analysis. So be current and show me the answer. Yep, I see the answer from Rose. Okay. 5 minutes left. All right, I see some answers. Okay, so let's wait for the time to come. Only 1 minute left. Okay, check my right, it's over. And now let's check the answer. Okay. Now, I can see that there are some figures from the participants. I see the answer from rows. Maybe you use two accounts. So I see rows MZ and rows M. And I see the answer from Shalem, Fathu, and Amy. Okay, so here I also have my own answer. Okay, in another sheet. Right, sorry, I need to fix this correctly. All right, so as you can see, the net profit margin equal to the net profit, divided by revenue. Let's check. Okay, net profit divided by revenue. That is B5 divided by B2. Okay, net income here and the revenue here. So that's correct. And we take in percentage. Then the both supply A and supply B has negative. They have negative net profit margin at minus 2.49 or 2.95. Only supply C has a positive net profit margin at 8%. Quite impressive. For current ratio, then the current ratio of supply A, all three suppliers have pretty good current ratio, all of them over 1. And supply B has slightly lower, but supply C has pretty impressive number over 2. With gearing, we take the total liability divided by the equity. So as I'm sorry, I forgot to include this as percentage. So you can see that supply A has pretty high gearing. They have debt as much as 26 times of their equity. Supply B has much lower gearing at 146%, and supply C has a pretty healthy gearing at 88%. For debtors, they supply A collect the money pretty quick at 55 days. Supply B a little bit longer, 81, and supply C 93 days on average. As you can see, I use the formula 365 multiplied with the average account receivable divided by the revenue. So these are the numbers that I calculate from. You could compare this on the line on the row 11, that is account receivable. So I use this figure, that is debtors day, B11 divided by B2 multiplied with 365. For creditors day, then supply A also has the lowest figure at about 70 days. Okay, quite impressive because it can pay off quite on time. But supply B and supply C take longer to pay their creditors. Although you can see that supply C has a healthy margin, they have pretty good current ratio and a settled gearing, but they somehow they take too long to pay off the creditors. Similarly, then with inventory days, then supply A takes has 80 days. Okay, so one single unit of inventory takes 80 days within the supply warehouse, 81 days in supply warehouse, and almost 120 days in supply C warehouse. So supply C, I need to note that all of these three suppliers work in the same industry. So their performance are comparable. And I see that with this number, then supplier A has a pretty good inventory management, and also they have pretty effective debt management. However, then when we consider about other financial ratios, then supply C outstand. Supply B has pretty close number to supply A in terms of efficiency, but they also have negative profit margin. When compare on the return on capital employed, then Supply C has pretty impressive number, over 12%, while Supply A it is only 2.47%, and Supply B very low at 0.42. So this shows that they have, because Supplier has too much debt, and they take most of their income to pay off the debt. So they have pretty negative profit margin. While Supplier B, I think that their problem also stem from the high gearing, but not as serious as Supplier A. But they have some problems with efficiency. Supplier C is highly efficient, but they need to improve on the collection, on the payment of the creditors, and on inventory head. They still have something to work on. Now, let me compare with the answer from the participants. Okay, with Amy, with the profit margin, you need to compare across the net income and the revenue. So with Supplier A, B, I don't see any negative figure. So basically, that's from answer. But you're correct on current ratio with gearing. Yeah, not true. Debtors day, okay. Creditor days, no, not true. And inventory day, yeah, wrong. So Amy, all right, so you are correct on current ratio and gearing and debtors day. Okay, but the rest are incorrect. For two, yeah, correct on net profit margin, current ratio, gearing also correct. No, except there you are incorrect about Supply C, gearing Supply C. Debtors day, creditors day, inventory days, row C. Yeah, for row C, I think you miscalculate, but most of the above figures are correct. Okay, very good, Fatu. For Charlene, net profit margin correct. Okay, with current ratio, yep, correct. Gearing, okay, good. With inventory day, debtors day, that's correct. Creditors day, also correct. Inventory day, yep, correct. And also only wrong, only a mistake at row C. But I think your figure is pretty close. With row C, we take EBIT. We take EBIT instead of net income. So we need to take from this row, not from net income, but from EBIT. All right. So for yeah, I think that Fatu and Charlene has pretty good performance here. Okay, very close figure. And for rows, you have the gearing. Yep, that, yeah, net profit. Okay. All right. All right. So from this performance, I can say that yeah, congratulations to all of you, and you try your best in calculation. And I can say that Charlene and Fatu has pretty close figure to my result, but the result from Charlene is slightly better with clearer expression of figure, and except she's a little bit incorrect on Rosie, maybe due to application, maybe due to wrong application of the formula. For Rosie, as you can see, we take the total assets. Okay, we take the EBIT divided by total assets total assets minus the current liability. So in my table, I don't have any total assets. So you need to calculate the total assets by taking the sum of total liabilities and equity, and then minus current liabilities. So you can see that Rosie has pretty have like more complex formula here, right? So I think that you forgot to remove the current liabilities from the number. All right. Anyway, then Charlie performance is pretty good, and I need to say that for today's challenge, for today's practice, Charlie provides the best answer. Congratulations, Charlie. Because it is quite late in my time, can I contact you tomorrow on your can I contact you tomorrow on your on the award or the reward? Okay, I may contact you on both email and WhatsApp. Congratulations again. All right, so that's all for today revision of the FAM4 about financial analysis. As you can see, this could be quite challenging, and especially it requires you to take a lot of time to calculate. So when you perform your exam, then you need to be quite you need to allocate enough time for this question. And if you are not confident about your calculation skill, then you need to spare it more time. And you don't need to provide long answer in this kind of calculation, just enough to do the calculation and make some comment about the potential impact of the suppliers. And overall, thank you very much for participation today. Remember that we may have other events for revision for both level 4 and level 5, and in the future expand into level 6. If you have any further concern, please contact us on WhatsApp with this number or email. We shall publish our videos revision on our website and on our YouTube channel. So if you are studying for SIP, then of course you can visit our materials. And currently, please apply the code momentum for, sorry, the current code is, Jessica, please remind me of the current code. All right, so if you have interest in our practice question, then we always have the promotion for you. And thank you very much for your participation today. I hope to see you again in other event. All right, Charlene, I shall contact you tomorrow. Okay, it's pretty late my time now. So see you in other event.